is a sizable crowd, so I'm really pleased for our rainy Friday night. And for all the turmoil of this week, it's a relatively good moment. And it's a nice place to be for a rainy night, so welcome. I think we solved all the little technical glitches that held us up, so things are looking good. I want to say just a few words about that this is a first in a series of, we hope, just ongoing speakers, and we've named our series the Climate and Sustainability Speaker Forum. And we just envision, as we find interesting people, come on in, you're welcome. As we find interesting people that is the YOLO Interfaith Alliance for Climate Justice, as we find people that we want to hear speak, we'll invite them, and then we'll invite you to come listen to them also. How's that? And so this is the first, and we just couldn't resist knowing that we had Humphrey Fellows in town, and that very many of them, actually 8 of them, just returned from training with Al Gore's Climate Reality Leadership Project. So they've really been thinking about it a lot, and they have things of importance to say to you. Only 4 of them are here tonight. Others had other engagements. But it's a big topic with them. Often when they gather in Washington, D.C., all the Humphrey Fellows from all around the country, very often the theme for the whole group is climate change. So that should be interesting. But we have other speakers lined up. The next one, you have a little flyer if you picked one up at the door, and it's Tony Rolfs, who works with the USDA office here in Davis, and his passionate love is soil, healthy soil especially. So he'll be talking to us more about how to get healthy soil such that we can avoid having dust bowl situations, which we are in some places headed for. So that will be our second speaker. And then we have all sorts of ideas after that. We're thinking Catherine Phillips, the director of the California Sierra Club, was wonderful when she came to our climate conference last year, and not enough people got to hear her. She knows how to be effective when you're doing advocacy with your legislators, and she had just excellent ideas how to do that. And we'd like to invite her back. And we're thinking someone from the Post-Carbon Institute. There are any number of speakers there who would be fascinating to hear, and their opinions on what it is we should focus on now more than ever in how to go forward. And a lot of their thoughts are around getting our local communities off of carbon so that we are resilient and strong and able to go forward. And those are just a few. We're thinking also about slow money, state bank, getting our currency to stay local, getting our investments to be more local, someone along those lines. So that's where we're headed. And if you signed up out there, you're on an email list where I'll just send you the announcements so you'll know of future opportunities. And I put them in the newspaper and send them out any which way I can think of. So that's that. But tonight we have 4, aren't they handsome? 4 handsome Humphrey Fellows. They've been with us, I guess you came to Davis back in August. Yeah, so they've been here a while, and they come and go now. It's hard to catch them. So we got them here tonight, and I think I may not introduce them all at once because you're going to lose track. Well, I'll just do it slightly. So we have Ixtel from Mexico right here, and she's the one who pulled the other 3 in with her, which makes her just great. And then let's see, so going in order, I think Adan is going to be next. Is that right? You're the second speaker, and from Morocco. Yeah, and now they're in order. Thank you so much. And oh dear, now can I get your name? Let me do it correctly. So it's Tarek from Tunisia, And he's the one who held us up a bit because his PowerPoint didn't quite cooperate with our system. But Ted, our technician back there, and his assistant, Rich, got it worked out. And now, Kush, I didn't quite have it right, but from Pakistan, will be ending the program, and she's even got a bit of a video at the end that her husband helped her to make. So we're in for a treat.
Thank you so much, Lynn. Yes, so oh, it would be great if I could also see the presentation. There? No? No. Yes. So, yes, so we're going to, and I don't have the clicker. I'm so sorry. Yes. Okay. Good. Great. So I'm very happy to be here. I'm so grateful to Lynn. I met her through a common friend, and I'm so happy that this is the way it works. Sometimes you meet someone who is able to introduce you to someone, and that brings you to really great places. And that is somehow the way I got into the Humphrey program. So I'll talk about what is the Humphrey program first. Then I'll tell you a little bit about what is the Climate Reality Leadership Core. And then we're going to talk about what is happening in climate change in each of our countries. Lynn asked us to tell a story, something that you can relate to, not give you too many data or too many specific things, but to tell you the story to what is really happening to us and our communities. So now this is the picture of the Humphrey Fellows that are currently in the US in 16 campuses all over the place. We are 196 fellows, and we are for 86 countries, 95 countries. And we've been here since August, most of us, and we went to Washington last year to get the opportunity to meet all of us. It was a great experience to meet and to bond with such an amazing people. Here in Davis, there are Humphrey Fellows. We are 11 from 10 different countries. And this is a picture from last year when we were helping to install solar panels with Grid Alternatives, which is an NGO that helps to install solar panels to people that has low income and that otherwise would not be able to get them. And this is the Climate Reality Leadership Core. We had a training in Denver in the beginning of March. We were 950 people there getting trained by Al Gore. And Al Gore does this every year, maybe 2 or 3 times a year. He puts one of these events together. It can be some in the US or abroad. And he trains us and empowers us during 3 days. And he's actually there every day. From early morning till the last session, he's there helping us, directing, and giving us all kinds of tools to talk about climate change. Because something that I've been learning since 2013 when I joined this project, it's that there is a lot of information out there, but the best way to communicate is to each other, peer to peer, talking in the same language. So since I arrived, I've been talking to the Humphrey Fellows. You should go to the climate reality training. We should do it, let's do it. And I'm so happy 13 Humphrey Fellows joined in the last training. And something that I really like about this project is that I've met amazing people from all over the world. And I remember it was 2014, and I was in Brazil attending a training as a mentor, helping to train some new climate leaders, when I met a Humphrey Fellow from Brazil. And we got together in a plane, and she told me about the Humphrey program. She told me, you should apply, you should try. And I was like, no, why? I felt maybe it was not the right time for me. but she spoke so many great things about the program. She was in MIT in 2012, and that really inspired me. So I'm really happy about these two programs, about being in the Climate Reality Leadership Corps, that has led me to know all these amazing people here, and also about the Humphrey program, because it's been a great experience. So now I'm gonna tell you about what is happening in my community in Mexico, which is called Carmen. Carmen, it's an island in the Gulf of Mexico, which you will see here. Right there, it's the most populated island in Mexico, and the municipality comprehends all that you can see in red. All that is Carmen, and it's a natural protected area. So we also have a lot of mangroves, we have dolphins, we have jaguars, we have many beautiful animals there. And this is a picture of the city. As I said, it's the most populated island in Mexico. And something that got me into climate change, it was the increase in temperatures. I've always lived in Carmen. I grew up there, studied there for many years, and it was 2012, and I remember that I was trying to sleep this one particular night, and it was very hot. And I grew up there. We never had AC. Every time it was hot, it was enough to just open the windows and turn on the fan, and that was enough to keep me comfortable. But that particular night, I remember it was May. It was so hot that even when I had the windows open and I had a fan, it was not enough. And I felt suffocating. I felt I was very scared. So I turned on another fan. Maybe that will help some way, because we did not have AC in my home. We grew up there. We never needed an AC. So that also didn't help. So I went to the restroom, wet a towel, put it on my belly, and that really scared me, because you really need to feel fresh to be relaxed at night. And especially that feeling of being safe. I couldn't get it, and that really got me scared. So that was in 2010, and I decided I wanted to study climate change. So after that, I decided to apply to study a master's in climate change. And I went to Scotland to study this in 2011. So we are getting higher temperatures, but where is all this heat going? 93% of this heat is going to the ocean. And here we can see in this graph how it's that the temperature of the ocean is rising. And this rising in the temperatures is also going to fuel storms. And in this picture, we see one from Patricia in 2015, a hurricane that was very dangerous to the Mexican Pacific. And then a compare with Katrina in 2005. The effects of Patricia weren't that hard as we thought it would be. We were very lucky, but we cannot rely on luck to abate climate change. So thinking about what story I can tell you also about climate change and the powerful strength of storms, I remember this. It was 1995, and we had a very strong and unusual storm season in Mexico. So first we had this hurricane called Opal that it hit in September. I remember I was around 10 years old, so this happened, and we had lots of rain. This is the trajectory of the hurricane. It wasn't that bad. I do remember we got some water into my house, but it went away. And then, some days later, we got another hurricane. It was October 7. And now we're going to see the trajectory of this hurricane, and I want you to see. You can see the dots for the way it was moving. I remember Opal happened, we went back to school, we got this other hurricane, we went back to school, and just 2 days later, the hurricane came back. So it was like being hit by a hurricane 3 times. And the second time, Roxane, this one, hit, it was even stronger. Opal was category 4, this one was category 3. And it was the biggest thing that I've seen, and I was only 10, so I don't remember how my parents did to have water or so we could have food. roads were destroyed, bridges inside the city were also destroyed. It was a very difficult time. We were out of school at least for 1 month, maybe 2. I have these very diffuse memories. But definitely it is something that changed the way I was thinking about hurricanes. And many people got diseases like cholera because we were without water for 3 weeks, because the city gets its water from outside, from some wells that are like 2 hours away, outside the island. So for 3 weeks, the engineers were working to get the water supply back. That was terrible. And back then, we had many mangroves that were protecting our coast, something that we've been losing because the city has doubled its size since then. So now we are even more vulnerable to hurricanes. And as the city is not very well planned, and many of the natural discharge channels have been blocked, every time it rains in October or November, we get something like this. That is a road completely filled with water. And this is a road that in my city is very famous because all of the petroleum companies are there. Like, yes, everybody is there. And they are the first being affected every time it rains. You cannot take your car there. And other thing that happens, that has been happening more and more, is coastal erosion. This is a picture of a little beach, and this happened last year. We had some bad weather in the beginning of the year, which was also very unusual because our dry season goes from December to June. We don't used to have rains during these days. It could be cloudy, but never rainy, and now it rains. And some things like this happen. So we're having coastal erosion, but we are also very sensitive to sea level rise. And here in this map, we see 3 colors. We have yellow, and in this area, I don't know if you can see it, but that area is prompt to be completely flooded by 2030. That is just around the corner. The green area is prompt to be flooded in 2050, and the red in 2100. And to be honest, even when the government has a climate change law, and we have an institute that is in charge of having adaptation and mitigation plans, and we are complying with the NDC, still I don't know about adaptation measures for this that is happening so soon. Also, many of the petroleum infrastructure currently is located in that yellow area. So there are gonna be people very affected there. Oh, other thing that the World Bank did a study about how many people this is going to affect, and it goes 500,000 people is gonna be affected by this rise in the sea level just in this area on my state. So as we're having an increase in temperatures and storms, the water is not only evaporating from the ocean, but it's also going to be evaporating from the land. That is going to cause drought. So last year, in the Yucatan Peninsula, we had severe drought, causing to lose around 12% of the agricultural production in the area. We also have something where we see that there is a direct relation between the increase in the temperatures and the fires. And we also been having lots of fires in the Yucatan Peninsula. Another thing is the way that diseases are spreading. And when I was younger, we used to have a lot of dengue. Dengue started to increase a lot, but now we also have chikungunya and we also have Zika. And personally, I had dengue in 2014, which is not rare as we have around 60,000 cases of dengue a year all around Mexico. But I also had Zika last year, and that is something that really scared me, because The year before I had dengue. It was my first time, even when my mother and my brother had dengue many times before. Dengue was hard. Zika wasn't that much, but what really scared me is that when I went to the hospital to get checked, they didn't confirm my dengue, my Zika. They only gave me, even when they got me a blood test, they only said it was probably Zika. But I had all the symptoms, and it was just me. It was my mom, my brother, close friends. And in the beginning, you don't think it's Zika, but then you have all the rash, and the government is not reporting cases. That is something that really worries me, because mosquitoes are everywhere, and they are just keep growing. And every year, I'm thinking, which is going to be the next disease? Because also mosquitoes are incubating these viruses much faster, especially with Zika. The time for the incubation of the virus, it was not enough for the mosquito being able to transmit it. But now, as it is hotter, the mosquito has enough time to incubate the virus and transmit it. So I got tested for Zika. They couldn't say I had Zika, but still they sent some people to fumigate my house. So, and also the place where I was working, which they told me I was very lucky because many people, even when they had or dengue or Zika or chikungunya, they don't get this thing. So it's a very hard story. And I'm just talking about this little place in Mexico. So I want to give you some nice news about things that we are actually doing. And one of the things I really like is that almost 12% of Mexico's territory, it is a natural protected area with some degree of protection. And the state of Campeche has several. Has the Terminus Lagoon, where I live, and also has the beautiful Calakmul, which is, it has the highest degree of protection. It's a biosphere protection area. And also, it has a beautiful Mayan city inside. You can be in Calakmul for 1 week, enjoy of nature, and also see these beautiful Mayan archaeological sites. We're also increasing our share in renewable energies. This is in Oaxaca, Mexico. And also Mexico complied with having an NDC, where one of the goals I am most interested in is that we're planning to stop our deforestation by 2030. I think it's very hard, and it really surprises me that my government wanted to include something so ambitious. But it gives many NGOs, as like the one I'm working on, to push the government to comply with the legislation that we already have. So now, after speaking a very long time, I'm going to introduce my friend Adnan, who's going to speak about climate change in Morocco.
Good evening, everybody. No, it's okay. It's my pleasure to be here with you and to share also my story about climate change in Morocco. As Itzel mentioned, we have this great opportunity in Denver to meet Al Gore and to be inspired by him about climate change leaders and fight what's happening in the world. I work as an engineer in forestry, and I didn't know that I'm already a climate leader because of nature of my job. But you should know what is your style of leadership. So this evening I will present my climate change impacts in Morocco. And I really liked the quote of Ban Ki-moon when he said there is no plan B because there is no planet B. So this is a really a good idea. So I will give a short presentation about my country. What is the climate change impacts in Morocco? and as my job, how we can face the climate change effects. I came from Morocco, or how we know the Kingdom of Morocco, which is like similar the area as California. We are 38 million Moroccan. The map shows the main cities in my country. I will talk about the religion. Islam is the common religion in my country. The Arabic is, and recently the Tamazight is official language in Morocco. French is the second, and English is my third language. The capital is Rabat. The biggest city is Casablanca, not the movie. The red city is Marrakesh, and Fez is the spiritual and cultural city. I was born in Taza, which is the oldest city, and now I'm living in the sunny city, which is Agadir. Can you please play? This movie will show you like a short view about my country. Okay, so as you can see, everything is good, everything is perfect, but no. No, it doesn't. Okay, good. So We are really facing climate change effects. We are not like a polluted country, but we assume what's happening in the globe. So, as you can see in the map, so like more than 50% of the country receive less than 200 millimeters, which is provide a lot of drought in the country. A small part of the country in the north, which is closer to the Spain, would receive more than 800 millimeters. This chart represents the evolution of the rain level. As you can see, for 90 years, the quantity of rain has decreased more than 100 millimeters. This map also shows the distribution of the bioclimate area. As you can see, the arid and the semi-arid are gaining more space in the country. So, according to the World Climate Organization, Morocco, we know a decrease of temperature by 5 degrees Celsius and decrease of rainfall by minus 50% in 2100. Climate change effects can be shown on different ways. For example, we have like a wildfire, which represents a big area in my country. We have like we lost every year more than 3,000 hectares of forest. We have the problem of erosion, which represents a big issue. The movement of sand affects also agriculture and infrastructure, plus we have the salinization caused by evapotranspiration. So how we can respond to the climate change effect? First of all, by adaptation. By protecting the territory and the civilization the most appropriate way. I'm like a GIS, which I'm Geographic Information System person. We use a lot of data to determine where is the area that is more affected, and we can make a future plan action that we can reduce the climate change effects. The second one is by mitigation. We can voluntarily decouple economic growth from its greenhouse emission. And Morocco has been involved in the new technology of the green energy by solar and wind energy. The third point is dealing with the climate refugees, which is a new topic in my country. We are like the door to Europe and to America, so we receive a lot of people coming from the Middle and South Africa. So we try to establish a framework for the protection of person and property in situation considered really, really extreme. So this is what my presentation. I give this the short outline. I present my country, where is the climate change effects in Morocco, and how we can face it. And thank you. Now I will introduce my friend Tariq, who will present the climate change effects on Tunisia.
Thank you, Adnan. Tunisia. He will click. Back. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want the video now?
Later.
Okay.
The slides now. Okay. Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming. My name is Tarek Rabi. I'm one of the Humphrey Fellows in Davis this year. And I'm here to talk for the first time about climate change, because today I will present climate change as a long way to convince the deniers, because I was one of these deniers until the last year. I didn't really believe in this climate change topics and this climate change philosophy until I make a lot of discussion this year, especially with my friends or during this training in Denver, which really changed a lot of my opinion, of my ideas, and I really start to think seriously and deeply about this climate change effect in my country, and I will try to show you some things that really prove that this topic is really very serious in a lot of countries in the world, in this world. So, to be honest, I don't have any background in climate change because I'm a marketing manager dealing with dates crops. I'm working in the company in Tunisia that exports dates. But I will show you that climate change also affected dates crops. So I'm coming from Tunisia. My country is in north part of Africa. It's about 64,000 square miles, and we are around 12 million Tunisian. Our average income is around $5,000. The religion in Tunisia is Islam, and our currency is dinar. So during my presentation, I will focus on three major parts. The first one, which is the most important one, is the climate change in Tunisia and how really the truth is hurting everybody nowadays. And then we will give you an overview about the main consequence about this climate change and the social, economical, and other levels. And at the end, I will make some basic ideas to face these climate problems and try to try to make things better. So, the first thing I would like to talk about during this problem of climate change are the droughts, because if we look at the last 2 decades, we have 4 consecutive droughts. One of them lasts already 5 years. And if we look on terms of rainfalls, we look that there are only 5 years during the last 2 decades were above the average of rainfall. All the 15 years were below the average of rainfall. Some years were really, we get like 20 inches per year of rainfall, which is really, really very low. And I invite you to see this video, which gives you some idea about the situation last year in 2016 in Tunisia. Please.
I speak to TRT World's Navina Couture, who is live from Tunis via Skype. Navina, good to see you. Tell us, how bad is this problem?
Well, here in the capital where I am speaking from, it is not as bad as in the south of the country or in more rural parts of the country where people have been cut off from running water for days, in some parts even for weeks. And it's unclear how this is going to be resolved. I have to say it's quite disconcerting to see that here in the capital people are still using large amounts of water to water their gardens and their plants. And so far we haven't heard that much from the government yet.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. What exactly is the government doing about this? Because this has been ongoing for a while in terms of the drought and the shortages. I know that there have been cutbacks. Has anything been announced by the government?
Yes, as you said earlier, there has been the religious leaders and the Ministry of Religious Affairs has been calling on people to pray for more rain. But this drought, even though it's worse than what we've experienced in the last couple of years, does not come unexpected. The water levels in the reservoirs have been falling for years, for 2 decades really. And I think people, especially in the south of the country, do expect the central government to intervene for water that is being directed towards the capital to be redirected towards the region, and to come up with a plan that addresses the water needs in this country. The needs are increasing by 4% every year as the water levels are falling every year. So there has been very little in terms of policy.
Okay, so the government is very aware of this problem and is calling people to make pray. So we see in Tunisia, we are really taking the things very seriously. Okay. Next. Yes, okay.
How bad is this problem?
Okay. Also, In Tunisia, we have Mediterranean climate, which is very similar here to United States. We have 4 seasons: winter, spring, summer, and autumn. And every season is independent from the other season. So we can feel that with the day when it is summer, we feel the breeze of the spring, we feel the cold of the winter, and we feel the fall. But if you look at the last 20 years, we notice that we can see 4 seasons in only one day. It's really cold in the morning, very hot in the midday, and it's with sometimes a very high shower at the end of the day. So you can see 4 summers, 4 seasons in only one day. And also we have very strong showers, like we have monsoons in South Asia or South America. For example, we have 93 inches in only 6 hours. Yeah. And we have 35 inches in 30 minutes in 2003. This one is in 2016 is the video that I'm going to show now. Oh, I'm sorry.
Tell us how.
I don't think that.
The pro is not working. Anyway, this is the video about the last rainfall yesterday, last year. Excuse me. It is stuck. Can you go to the next slide, please?
Put it on this one, and then so that's changing.
Yeah, okay. Another aspect that we are really suffering those years is that we are seeing very abnormal phenomenon in the nature. That's what we call extreme or strange weather. Have you ever seen 125.6 degrees Fahrenheit? This was into July 22nd, 2016. And I remember in that day I was here in the US, and they told me that all the administration called people to go back home because nobody can work. And here's from the car, you can see 52.5 degrees Celsius. Or personally, I never seen this phenomenon before. Snow in the desert. So we have a part like Death Valley here in the United States, which is very hot, and in winter we can find some snow in this part, which is really, we never seen something like that before.
Il a neigé sur les dunes du Sahara.
They hit it.
Karim Bouchta, un photographe amateur, a eu la chance d'immortaliser ce phénomène très rare.
Another also problem or issue that we are facing nowadays, and Itzel talked about this for Carmen when she said that the level of water is rising. We have 2 islands in Tunisia which are the most attractive touristic places in my country, which are really risking to be drowning because they are losing like 2 meters in terms of inches, which is like 6 feet, 2 meters, yeah, 6 feet almost every 3 years. So maybe in 1 century or 2 centuries, half of this island will disappear from the earth. And we don't know what we're going to do with these people who are living there. And statistics, our Institute of Research, they made a forecast for the next 30 years. And they said that they predict that in 2020, there are increase in temperature for about from 1 to 1.3 degrees Celsius from the north. You see, is the green map on the left. It's 0.8 to 1, and on the south, it's from 1 to 1.3. And in 2015, it's even worse. It's almost 1.7 in the north till 2.7 degrees Celsius in the south. Also, in terms of rainfalls, we will see a decrease of 5% to 10% in a couple of years in 2020, and in 2015, sometimes almost 30% in the Tunisian south. And if you know that South Tunisian is the place where dates are cultivated and harvested, and dates are almost 2% of our GDP. So there is a huge issue in terms of economic for our country. So the main impact, like itself developed, are about water, which are really being rare, water scarcity, agriculture, scarcity of many products, and now we see that the prices of vegetables and fruits are really growing, are increasing a lot in Tunisia. In terms of tourism, we are risking that most of the beaches are risking the coastal erosion, and also we notice that the color of the water in the beaches, which was really crystal clear years before, now is changing. And we cannot understand why this phenomenon is caused by. But I think, in my opinion, that something that has been linked with the climate change aspect. Also, in terms of health and with social problem of like regionalism and people who will move from the area in the south to the north to avoid this kind of problem. I will give you this example for the dates, which is my field of expertise, and I will let you just take a moment here to explain that dates who are harvested in October, the maturity takes place between October and between September and October, and to have a very good quality of dates, we need a very hot day and warm nights. But if you look at the statistic since 2009 or 1999, we look at during the days it's really hot, and also during the night it's really hot. So we don't have these warm nights that can guarantee a good quality of dates, so that it can become soft, and the sugar can make its conversion. That's why dates are really getting bad quality nowadays. And also we have this very bad insect that appears 10 years ago, which attacks the dates and puts some nasty things inside. I don't want to let you show this. So this is also very bad things that we are risking. Okay, so the main challenges. First of all, it's a matter of conscience, because I am one of the Tunisians who have the opportunity to hear about climate change, to learn. But 10 million or 11 million never heard about this concept and will deny it at the first time, and will not accept or will not get along with us for this fight. The second one is how we call institutional, because the climate change organism in Tunisia belongs to the Ministry of Environment, which is really getting a problem of flexibility, independence, autonomy, and so on. So I think, and I will fight to create a really independent office or department or organism for climate change issues and climate change effects. The third one is legislative, because we need a new regulation, of course. And this is also another problem. We don't have enough data for the past so that we can make models and we can predict the future to see really the real impact of climate change on our country. And the last thing, which is really a very important work to do, is like let us learn our children about this problem. So I think that we need to include the climate change issues in the program for children, in their events or in their books in the schools. And as Gandhi said, that in the beginning they laugh at you, then they ignore you, then they fight you, but at the end you win. And I'm sure we're gonna win as climate leaders. Thank you. And now I give to Alia to finish.
Thank you very much, Tarek. Good evening, everybody. I'm Khushbakht Alia, and I'm from Pakistan. I come from the north of Pakistan, from the Himalayas. So at the start of this month, we went to Denver, and we were trained by the former Vice President Al Gore, and it really opened my eyes to. I'm sorry. sometimes it doesn't work. Let it work and then I'll start
There we go.
speaking. Yes. So it really opened my eyes to a lot of issues that I think in the past I really ignored or I really never thought about. Because it doesn't happen to you, that's why you never pay attention to it. So now after attending that training and being a climate leader, I think I'm really determined to go back and to educate and aware my community about the effects and this particular topic and what communities can do within their own spheres. So today I'm going to talk about climate change in Pakistan. I'm not going to talk a lot because I have a 12-minute documentary which I'm going to share with you. It is basically talking about generically what climate change, what kind of issues we have in Pakistan about climate change. So I'm also a Humphrey Fellow, and my area of study is agriculture and rural development. And by the way, thank you for this great opportunity. So the outline of my presentation is I'm going to talk a little about Pakistan, some facts and figures, and I will talk about climate change and Pakistan, and at the end I'm going to share the documentary. The name of the documentary is Climate Change, Building Resilience Through Adaptation. So basically, one of the organization, Lead Pakistan, is working in the rural communities in Pakistan to create resilience among communities. And at the end, we will have a question-answer session because I am the last speaker. So the total population of Pakistan is 189 million, so we're the 6th populated country in the world. And almost 40% of the population is urban, and 60% of the population is rural. Our GDP is $271 billion, and GDP per capita is 1,434 US dollars. So our total area is 300,000 square miles. So the total forest area, which we really need to improve, is only 3% of the total area. And agriculture is the main sector which contributes to 21st person to our GDP and employs almost more than 40% of our labor force. And if we look at the map of Pakistan, India and China, the most populated countries are our neighbor, and also Afghanistan and Iran. So we have Arabian Sea in the south, and high mountains and glaciers up in the north, where I come from, actually. So we have 4 provinces, and the other region is Gilgit-Baltistan. So I have added this picture to show you the geographic diversity in Pakistan. So as I told you, up in the north, we have the glaciers, high mountains, Hindu Kush, Himalaya, and Karakoram. And it is one of the pictures, which is the Baltoro Glacier, which outside of the polar region is one of the longest glaciers. And these glaciers are the source of water in Pakistan through the Indus River system. And then I have a picture on the right side. It's basically a picture from Thar. It's a desert in the south. And then on the left bottom, I have a picture from Karachi. It's Port Qasim in the very south of Pakistan. And Karachi is basically the financial hub of Pakistan and contributes to 40% to the GDP. And it's almost half of the tax revenue comes from Karachi. So it's very vulnerable to climate change because it's on the coastline. And I don't know if you've heard about, in 2015, we had a very severe heat wave in Karachi, killing more than 1,200 people. Yes. And the bottom right picture is basically from the middle, which is the agricultural area in Punjab. And you can see cotton field in Punjab. So each area has its own climate change issue. So if we talk about the north, we have GLUFs. That means glacier outburst, glacier lake outburst floods and flash floods. In Thar, we have severe droughts in the last decade. So we've seen severe famines in the desert area. Karachi, heat wave, heavy rainfall, cyclones. So, and in Punjab, definitely agriculture is being affected by heat, temperature rise. So each region and each geographic location has its own problem. So if you see Pakistan's contribution to the global greenhouse emissions, it's only 0.8%. And another thing, in the global climate risk index, Pakistan is the 7th most vulnerable country to climate change. So that means our contribution is very little, but we're being affected the most. So what are the sources of the greenhouse emissions in Pakistan? So the major sources: energy sector, 51%, agriculture is 39%, industry is 6%, and others are 4%. So our energy sector mainly relies on oil and natural gases. So what are the impacts? Now we know that there is global warming, there are increased precipitation and its uneven distribution, melting of glaciers, as I talked about, because of the glaciers, the global warming, the glaciers are melting at a very high rate than ever before. We have sea level rise, an increase in frequency and I can't see it, intensity of extreme weather events. So what are the impacts to our country, to our communities? So the impacts are definitely uncertainty in water availability, decrease in crop yields and productivity, loss of biodiversity because of loss of wetlands and rangelands and forest, an increase in human health risks, especially after the different droughts that floods that we have in the country. So in 2010, I don't know if you've heard about, we had floods almost throughout the country, started from the north, ended in the south. So there were 20 million displaced people in the country. It's a really big thing. It really pushes back our economy. So we have to really work hard to grow. So I already told you about these, that the impacts in Pakistan are, we are highly vulnerable to climate change. And there are definitely, rapid shifts in the weather. We have droughts in one province and heavy rains and floods in the other. So also, the Indus River that I talked about is highly reliant on the glaciers. It's becoming more and more erratic. So it's a lifeline of Pakistan's economy because our economy mostly relies on agriculture. So I've just put a picture of Siachen Glacier. It is in the Karakoram mountain range. It's a picture from 1989. A satellite picture, and a picture taken in 2006. So you can see what's happening. There is a drastic change. The glaciers are receding and melting at a very high rate. So how do we respond to climate change? There are two ways. Either we adopt the change by adapting different, technologies and ways, or we mitigate it. And for Pakistan, we focus more on adaptation because our economy is not strong to do these mitigative measures. So now I'm going to show you the climate change documentary that I was talking about.
इस सदी के दो सबसे बड़े मसले, एक है पॉवर्टी, दूसरा है क्लाइमेट चेंज।
16 से 18 बिलियन डॉलर का नुकसान हुआ।
दगे तो गए, दागा गया, बकरे गए, मैं
32 से 33 मिलियन लोग बेघर हुए।
खून भी दुकान भी मार्केट भी।
अगर हमने इस इशू को एड्रेस करना है तो हमें कुछ मॉडल्स देने होंगे कम्युनिटीज को।
कक्कर पौने बड़े जोर दे कड़का बिजाई दे हुन तो कक्कर नहीं पौंदे।
इंडस्ट्रियल इमिशंस के साथ साथ डिफॉरेस्टेशन जो है वो बहुत बड़ा एलिमेंट है।
We need to better integrate with the rest of the world than stay isolated.
The sea, land, ice, life and people of Earth are all connected by the atmosphere. Climate change poses a clear and present threat to all of us. Scientists agree that increase in greenhouse gases has led to a warming of the Earth's temperature by 0.74 degrees Celsius over 100 years. Based on scientific modeling from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the Earth's average surface temperature in the next 50 years could rise by 0.6 to 2.5 degrees Celsius. Human activity, burning fossil fuels, industrial emissions, and deforestation are some of the main causes of climate change. Changing rainfall patterns are causing floods in some places and droughts in others. Pakistan has a coastline of 1,046 kilometers along the Arabian Sea and the Gulf of Oman, while glacial peaks from the Karakoram, Himalayan and Hindu Kush mountain ranges ring northern Pakistan. Mostly arid glacial melt and seasonal monsoon rains are the main water sources. Changes in temperatures are causing heat waves and extremely hot summers in some areas and colder winters in others. The poorest among us are the most vulnerable to climate change. Nearly 1 billion people on Earth who survive on less than $1 a day suffer the most. Rural communities who depend on agriculture and fishing for their livelihoods, landless laborers, urban poor, the elderly, women and children are the hardest hit. Ali Tokir Sheikh is CEO of Lead Pakistan, a national non-profit organization. According to Mr. Sheikh, climate change and poverty are directly linked.
दुनिया की जो पॉपुलेशन है उसमें आधे से ज़्यादा लोग जो हैं वो गरीब हैं, पुअर हैं, और आधे की मेजॉरिटी जो है वो साउथ एशिया में रहती है, पाकिस्तान और इंडिया में। और क्लाइमेट चेंज जो है उसके साथ जो पॉवर्टी है वो एक्सेलरेट होती है, जो लोगों की वल्नरेबिलिटी है वो बढ़ती है। और क्लाइमेट चेंज के साथ दुनिया में जो एक्सट्रीम इवेंट्स या डिज़ास्टर्स हैं वो बढ़ रहे हैं। इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट की कॉस्ट बढ़ती जा रही है। अगर दुनिया का टेम्परेचर 2 डिग्री, 3 डिग्री या 4 डिग्री तक जाता है तो जितनी आज तक डेवलपमेंट हुई है पिछले 100 साल में वो नेगेट हो जाती है।
Nisar Ali is 25 and native of a small village of Thatta district in Sindh. He is a social activist and a farmer. During floods of 2010, he lost his small piece of cropland.
हमें ये मालूम नहीं था कि शायद इतना बड़ा पानी का रेला आएगा, इतनी तबाही मचाएगा. तो ये मौसमी तब्दीली जो असरात हैं, इनको हमने कभी गौर किया ही नहीं था, तवज्जो से देखा ही नहीं था, तो ये होती क्या है. जब ये बड़ा पानी का रेला आया तो हमें सिर्फ ये भागने का एक मौका मिला. जब ये पानी गांव से 3 माह के बाद निकल गया था, हम गांव में आए थे, तो हमारी ज़मीनें थी, सारी जो आबादी थी, तो पानी के अंदर थी.
Many live on fragile lands, mountains, coastal areas, and deserts. They don't have enough resources to protect themselves from climate change and its impacts. Economy of Pakistan is highly affected by climate change. Ahmed Kamal is a senior technical expert at National Disaster Management Authority. He tells us the severity of economic losses caused by extreme events.
2000 से ऑनवर्ड मुख्तलिफ सैलाब और दूसरे साइक्लोन्स और कुदरती आफात आती रहीं, उसमें ज़लज़ले भी आए. लेकिन जो 2010 से लेके 2014 तक पाकिस्तान ने फेस किया, जो कि ख़ास करके मौसमियाती तब्दीलियों की वजह से हुआ, बड़ा वाज़े है ये. उसमें हमें एक मोहतात अंदाजे के मुताबिक 16 से 18 बिलियन डॉलर का नुकसान हुआ. उसके साथ साथ तकरीबन 32 से 33 मिलियन लोग बेघर हुए. उनकी कह लीजिए अबूरी तौर पे उनको अपने घर छोड़ने पड़े. माल मवेशी उनका ख़त्म हुआ. हमारे जीडीपी पे उसका खासा नुकसान हुआ.
Small farmers are suffering from crop losses because of changing temperatures, variable rainfall, and water shortages. They are finding it more expensive to grow the same crops and are worried that soon they won't be able to feed their families. Rural women have to walk further and longer to collect water and fuel wood. They are worried about their children's health and what to do if their livestock falls sick. To survive, we must adapt. But what kinds of adaptation strategies are required for Pakistan? Dr. Ghulam Rasool is the Deputy Director General of Pakistan Meteorological Department and one of the foremost experts in climate change adaptation.
آنے والے وقتوں میں پاکستان کے لیے سب سے بڑا مسئلہ جو ہے وہ پانی کی کمی کا ہوگا. وہ پانی کی کمی کو قابو کرنے کے لیے اس سے فائدہ جو اویلیبل ہوگا اس سے فائدہ اٹھانے کے لیے ضروری ہے کہ ایسی کراپس لگائی جائیں جو کم پانی استعمال کرتی ہیں. جو خاص طور پہ چھوٹے فارمرز ہیں, اس طرح کی پلاننگ اپنی کریں کہ وہ 2-3 مہینے میں تیار ہونے والی فصلیں لگائیں اور اس سے ان کے کھیتوں کی زرخیزی جو ہے وہ بھی برقرار رہے گی اور ان کو کھاد کا کم استعمال کرنا پڑے گا, کیمیکلز کا کم استعمال کرنا پڑے گا, پانی بھی کم استعمال ہوگا. جیسے جیسے کلائمیٹ چینج ہو رہی ہے, چیلنجز جو ہیں وہ بڑھتے جا رہے ہیں. ان چیلنجز کو اوورکم کرنے کے لیے بہت ضروری ہوگا کہ کمیونٹی جو ہے وہ بھی آپس میں مل کے چھوٹے گروپس بنائے اور وہ ایسے گروپس ہوں جن کے مشترکہ مفادات ہوں.
What can we do to respond to these threats?
We adopt the change or we mitigate. We take mitigative measures. وہ mitigation measures جو ہے پاکستان جیسا یا تھرڈ ورلڈ کنٹریز نہیں کر سکتی. ریزن یہی ہے کہ ہمیں فائنینشیل ریسورسز نہیں.
To locally address the issues of climate change through mainstreaming community-based climate change adaptation, Lead Pakistan, in partnership with Lead International and with the financial support of Department for International Development, devised a project called Climate Leadership for Effective Adaptation and Resilience. The aim of the project is to increase the capacity of poor and vulnerable communities in Pakistan to implement climate change adaptations to protect their livelihoods and contribute to bottom-up policy development.
کلائمیٹ چینج کے ایشوز کو دیکھتے ہوئے لیڈ کی ریسرچ جب سامنے آئی اور ہم نے اس چیز کے اوپر ایگری کیا کہ اگر ہم نے اس ایشو کو ایڈریس کرنا ہے تو ہمیں کچھ ماڈلز دینے ہوں گے کمیونٹیز کو. ہم نے کمیونٹی کی کیپیسٹی کو بلڈ کیا, ہم نے ان کو بہتر انفارمیشن دی, ٹائملی انفارمیشن دی, ہم نے ان کو انگیج کیا. ایک جو گیپ تھا پریکٹس اینڈ پالیسی کے درمیان اس کو برج کیا اور اس کا جو سب سے بڑا فائدہ ہوا کہ آج پورے ملک کے اندر تقریباً 40 آرگنائزیشن
क्लाइमेट चेंज को बेहतर तरीके से समझ सकती हैं, बेहतर तरीके से उसको इम्प्लीमेंट कर सकती हैं और बेहतर तरीके से एंगेज कर सकती हैं अपने स्टेक होल्डर्स को और अपने पॉलिसी मेकर्स को, तहसील लेवल के ऊपर, डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल के ऊपर, प्रोविंशियल लेवल के ऊपर और नेशनल लेवल के ऊपर, ताकि गवर्नमेंट इसको अपने जो डेवलपमेंट एजेंडा है वो उसका हिस्सा बना सके।
लीड पाकिस्तान वालों ने हमारी हेल्प की, हमें ट्रेनिंग दी, फसलों के बारे में बताया, कुछ खादों के बारे में बताया।
ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਮਸ਼ਵਰਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਲੈਵਲ ਕਰਾਈ, ਔਸਤ ਵੀ ਵਧੀ ਆ ਤੇ ਨੱਕਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਫਾਇਦਾ।
ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਨਾਬ ਇੱਥੇ ਆ ਕੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕਿਹਾ ਵੀ ਨੱਕੇ ਵੀ ਲਵਾ ਕੇ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਹੈ, ਯਾਨੀ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਹੈਗਾ ਵੀ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਲੈਵਲ ਕਰਾਓ, ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਇਜ਼ਾਫਾ ਹੋਏਗਾ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ। ਅਸੀਂ ਉਸ ਗੱਲ ਨੂੰ ਮੰਨ ਕੇ ਯਾਨੀ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਕੀਤਾ, ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇਜ਼ਾਫਾ ਮਹਿਸੂਸ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ।
ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵਾਟਰ ਲੈਵਲਿੰਗ ਤੇ ਮੈਨੇਜਮੈਂਟ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੰਨੀ ਆਗਾਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ। ਹੁਣ ਹਰ ਕੋਈ ਇਹ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਵੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਫਸਲ ਕਾਸ਼ਤ ਕਰਨ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲੇ मैं ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈਗਾ यानी कि अपनी ज़मीन ਨੂੰ लेवल करा लूँगा।
क्लाइमेट चेंज और मौसमी तब्दीलियों के हवाले से इन लोगों को जो अवेयरनेस सेशंस मुख्तलिफ एग्रीकल्चर के माहिर उनसे ट्रेनिंग वगैरह करवा रहे हैं कि ये एक ही मौसम में दो फसल लगाएं।
One of the focus that we decided to place is particularly on marginalized groups. So women, people with disabilities, people from backgrounds that are a vulnerable group. And that's been, again, a very great learning curve for us, because one of the big learnings that came out is to say, actually, if you want to include these groups into climate change adaptation, you need to design specific mechanisms for them. And that's the way how you bring this to scale, how you really manage to involve not just 50% of women, but maybe 80% of women in one of the adaptation initiatives.
Everyone needs to know what they can do to adapt. Information is at a premium. Beyond information, everyone needs to understand how to use this knowledge to make their livelihoods more resilient. Access to resources and decision-making will help in this quest. However, all these elements cannot be put together without having focused and coherent policies at the provincial and district levels. Capacities of both government officials and communities need to be enhanced. Such local adaptation models have to be scaled out and scaled up with the urgency that the situation demands. Climate change is now. We must act now to transform our present and safeguard our future.
And I have to say I was there also 20 years ago, and this time it felt hotter to me. I purposely went in mid-January hoping that it would be cool, and it was cool for maybe 2 weeks, and that only at night. And then after that they went through spring like in 3 days, and then it was summer again. And even the people in India were also saying, it's like, what's going on with our climate? So I don't know how people are living there now, currently. I can't take that kind of heat. I was suffering. But, they don't have air conditioning. They're out working in fields during the day. Well, around the Mumbai area, it's very humid. Delhi, it's drier. But, so I think that just the situation in both Pakistan, India, probably Bangladesh, you're talking almost 2 billion people just in Southeast Asia, that, and not just the people, the animals are also threatened. And so I think it's a big concern to the world. So I totally sympathize, and I also saw some things going on in India that concerned me. And one of those was, and this, I don't know if this occurs in Pakistan, but there are some things that could be done in India to reduce, climate impacts. For example, all through the Get It plain around Delhi, there are smokestacks rising out of the fields, and one of those smokestacks, they're burning coal and hay to make bricks. So, this is obviously a climate problem, producing large quantities of CO2, obviously. The other one is, and I know it's very traditional, but the collecting dung, mixing it with hay, and using it as a fuel, and I don't have any personal judgments about that whatsoever. I think it's been traditional for many years. However, they're in a hot, sunny climate. There are alternatives like solar, just simple solar boxes to cook food, for example, that could reduce. So in other words, it's both adaptation, but everyone in the whole world needs to do something to reduce CO2 emissions. And those are just two examples of things that I personally just recently saw in India that could be reduced. Of course, I'm coming from the US, where we have the highest rate of per capita automobile drivership rates in the world, and so we have we can't blame anybody else for climate emissions. So I'm not coming from that place at all. But just what would be your response?
I would say that when we went to Denver, one thing that Al Gore was saying was when he started out in 2006, when his documentary video came out, and he said, my first focus was on how individuals can contribute in this very important cause, which is affecting all of us. And now in 2017, he was talking more about policy, he was talking more about stuff that can be done at a policy level, like going from thermal or burning fossil fuels to renewable energy. But I still believe that countries like us, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, we still can do things on an individual and on a community basis that can really help tackle with this very important issue that is impacting our lives. And I would say small things. Like in Pakistan, there is this thing, this mindset, even if you go to the grocery store, which is very close to your house, you want to go in your car. That's the mindset I would say in urban areas. We don't have, we don't ride cycles around, which is something I think I can go and promote by cycling around. Plastic bag usage. We never, think about these small things, and I think it can make a big difference. I have learned a lot from Davis. Whenever we go for a grocery shopping, we always have our bags with us, so that we don't have to take the plastic bags from the grocery stores. So very small things, but I think they can make a big difference. I don't know if I've really answered your...
Well, you just reminded me that the other thing that was a little bit of concern to me in India, because I haven't been to Pakistan, is that they seem to be emulating the American transportation model, which is, especially in Delhi, build freeways.
Yeah.
And letting the legacy train system kind of die. In places like Mumbai, where you're getting all these high-rise developments that are just scattered all over the city, it doesn't make sense to go with the freeway model. It really, when you have almost more than 1 billion people, I think we proved that doesn't work in cities. And so this is of most concern to me, is that, the rate of car ownership, our tour guide said that 800 cars a day are being added just to the Delhi freeway system. That's a lot of automobiles being added. And so, you know, in developing countries, there's an opportunity to change direction. You know, if investment's going to be made in mass transportation instead of freeways. Then you have a hand back there.
I have a broader question that any of you four might address. It concerns the role of borders between nations in addressing these issues. Pakistan has an extremely complex border because of the partitions with India and Bangladesh. Morocco and Tunisia have post-colonial borders which don't necessarily align with cultural groupings. And of course, the border is a decisive factor in Mexico's national life. What's your vision for how we ought to understand borders in an era when we also understand our ecological interrelationships?
I'm not sure if I understand your question completely, but definitely talking about the Mexico-US border, we have benefits and things that have held us back some way. But I think there is always an opportunity to share experiences. There are as many good things we've learned from the US and as many good things I'm taking from the US back home, from what I've learned in Davis about using the bags, about the plastic bags, or the things that I also learned in the United Kingdom.
If you tap the bottom of the microphone, should come back on.
Oh.
The
green light?
Oh, yes.
Erica.
So, but we also share the same atmosphere. Everything that is happening in India or it's happening in Argentina is affecting all of us. So these frontiers I see it more as an opportunity to exchange. Yes, definitely. Technologies, habits, and as you were saying, of course, as developing countries, we have many challenges. And we are trying to emulate more developed countries and not many times the best practices. We just want to make our economy grow, so you need to sell more cars, to sell more fuel, and there is this fight that you even have here in the US when you want to stop building pipelines. We already have our pipelines and our petroleum industry is dying, but also the government wants money, so it's trying to bring it back. So that's happening globally, and something I think is that it's on us, we as citizens. Maybe it's not only in what we do every day, but also I've learned how much we help the others to achieve. Because I was in India in 2015 for also a climate reality event, and they were talking about all these very interesting investment programs to help make solar like a profitable business. Like you could not rely just in helping them to buy the solar panels and install them, but to really make the communities to being able to see buying solar panels as an investment for the community. So that grassroots movement, it's something that since I joined the Climate Reality Project, it's changed the way I see how we can move forward.
Both local and regional.
For the case of Morocco and Tunisia, let me say that we are really one country, not two countries, because there is a lot of similarity between us, and there's a lot of collaboration and cooperation between us. Maybe they are a little bit ahead. Morocco is a little bit ahead of Tunisia now in terms of climate change due to the revolution that made the mess in my country. Now we are really getting to reduce this gap between us and Morocco. But I think the collaboration and cooperation in this field will remain one of the main things that we're going to work on them. And we, as two climate leaders from both countries, we're gonna work on this. If you have something to add.
Like he said, that we have like the same, especially the same Mediterranean climate like here in California. So, and also you mentioned the problem of the refugees, and we had a lot of climate refugees coming from Middle and South Africa. Because we, like I said in my presentation, we are like the door to Europe, and so we have this problem. But now the government start to reduce, and with collaboration with the UE, it's to reduce these movements and to try to keep, and we have they provide some ID for some people they want to stay in Morocco and work there. So it's like a new home for them. So we try, and also Morocco is a leader. Last year, we just held the 22nd conference of the parties of UNCF, like the climate, the Union Climate Convention. And it was like a huge step for the Paris Agreement implementation.
One thing that I would like to add, because the region that I come from, India and Pakistan and Bangladesh, of course, everybody knows that we have our issues. But I think I'm positive that nothing can bring these two countries together, but I think climate change can. So the civil society and the grassroots level organizations and communities can play its big role, and of course, we as climate leaders can go back and, just to create awareness about this subject. We know there are floods, we know there are, gluffs, we know there are droughts, but we never link this to climate change and how things done here and in another country can affect our lives. And creating that awareness, I think, can bring the two countries together. I hope so.
Sorry. I had a question about your Zika experience, and I was just wondering why. Sorry, I was just wondering why the government would just not document why, or you would have Zika even though you had all those symptoms. Yeah.
Yes. So for me, when I went to this, it was a public hospital that. Everybody that is working in that has a well-established job will go to this kind of hospital because it's like the public place where you go. So they couldn't say it was Zika. At some point, I was still having symptoms, and I went to see a private doctor, and the doctor told me, I've had several patients that have Zika, obviously, and if you go to one of the public hospitals, they will give you the same result that you probably had Zika, or that you had Zika way long, not that it was not active, but it was before, and that if you were going to a lab that was private, it was going to be the same. And the doctor said that it's because the government had no money to face the epidemic. So they don't want to have more cases reported, because even if they report them, then they don't have money to do something. And when these people that were going from home to fumigate and clean the backyards went to my house, they said I was very lucky because they didn't have the things to fumigate my home, like homes before, like maybe for some months. So I guess it's that. It's a lack of resources we're facing.
Hi. I was down in Oaxaca because I love Mexico. And it's a beautiful city, but quite smoggy and polluted. And I've been to Delhi too, and that's another story. So I was talking with some of the local people saying, is pollution a problem? Do you have controls on the car emissions? And they said, yes, we've got all these laws for car emissions, but they're not enforced. And I wonder if that's a problem, and if you've thought of doing anything about that.
Yes, of course. One of our big issues in my country is that we have all these great laws. We've had a climate change law since 2012, And we also have this institute that deals with climate change since 2014, or 13, sorry. And one of the biggest issues is not being able to enforce the law. And it's in every little detail of our lives. With traffic lights, with littering, it's everywhere. So many times it's NGOs, the ones that are picking up some of these goals and trying to educate people and to ask attention from the government.
I've been very impressed with Cuba growing their own vegetables and switching diets to less meat or no meat. And I know in France they're encouraging people to grow vegetables on rooftops, and I'm wondering, this certainly would cut down on pollution and traveling back and forth to the supermarket when you grow your own. How much of that occurs?
Yeah, it's a good idea because as you know, like growing like animals, it's product methane, which is like kind of the gas that is provide climate warm. But from my experience and it's, in my opinion, it's very hard to change the diets for people because they encourage, like as you said, that they encourage like the production of vegetables and wheat. But to change the diets, it's very hard. So the way is like to use the methane to produce like electricity or energy, which like for my case in my country, we start using this new technology. I know also in Germany they are very, very advanced in this technology, and also they use like algae in the building to reduce the production of CO2 from the buildings.
Well, my NGO has been working in a very small level. We are starting to incentive people to do their own gardening and to grow vegetables, and yes, to tell them to, because changing diets, it's a very complicated topic for some people, especially in our countries, because culturally we have this habit of eating a lot of meat. It's something cultural, and it's also related, Latin American people, it's very susceptible to have more diabetes and to have obesity. So it is a challenge, but definitely, at least where I live in Carmen, we are seeing this movement to use less pesticides, because also we have our water, we have issues with preserving our clean water. So yes, we've had programs to incentive children to grow their own food. That's something we are doing. But of course, in the climate reality trainings, I mean, I've been there since 2013. In the beginning, they were at first serving meat, but now everything is vegetarian. So that is something that has really got me to think since I started being there. Yes.
Pictures are really, really amazing. And some of the facts that you guys share, I've never heard of how much rain. You said 80, was it was like almost 8 feet of rain in 36 hours? I don't even know how you can have so much rain.
Almost 20 inch or 30 inches, 6 hours, yes.
Yeah, so I can't imagine that.
Yes,
so one of the things that I think was really amazing, like when in Pakistan, the slide that you show, how much the glacier retreated, and I know that it retreats and it goes forward, but it retreated a lot so that it doesn't come back. And that scale is so big. I'm not sure how long that is. I mean, it's amazing how much we've lost. Because one of the things that my kids and I, we went to Alaska to see the exit glacier, and as you walk in that area, you'll show 1980 something, like each year it retreats. rather than come forward. So what I think that's really it shows when you were saying like what impacts you, what you see. That's when you see that the climate change is really happening for real. What I was curious about is for California, we're seeing more and more because of the lack of rain. We use more groundwater, so our land is sinking. And I know, does it affect you guys too in the different countries?
Yes, this affects us really in Tunisia. We, because of the droughts, we are starting to use this groundwater. And we have a groundwater which is shared with Algeria. So we are pumping like the water of the Algerian side. And due to this this intensive use of the groundwater, we notice that the salinity of water is increasing, which really make another problem for irrigation. The water is not really very good for irrigation. I'm not talking about the drinking because it's not drinkable at all.
I will add points the same. In Morocco, we have the same problem. Like for the agriculture, people are trying to reach the water like 10 years ago, like in 30 or 50 meters. Now you can go until 200 or 300 meters, or you cannot find. And also the quality of water is more salinity because it's evapotranspiration and the decrease of the level of the groundwater. And also it's have an impact of the costs of the land. When you don't have water, you can leave it. People are. This is why we have like a movement from rural to cities, and because they didn't find water, and also the decrease of the rainfall. So we have like different, very difficult condition for the weather to implement the strategy of the country in agriculture. And Morocco, the sector of agriculture is the first sector. So really the climate change affects the economy of the country.
I wonder if each of you might address urbanization in your respective countries. Urbanization, got a bad name in development circles because of the loss of traditional life and the displacement of indigenous peoples and so forth. By the same token, city planners now realize that a well-designed city might be more sustainable because of higher energy efficiency and more compact infrastructure. How is the growth of cities in your countries being planned? Is there a prospect for smart planning or for sprawl?
I was also going to answer the previous question by the same thing that I'm going to tell you now. In Pakistan, the rural-urban divide was the 30% was urban and 70% of the population was rural. And now I showed you that it has changed in the last decade, and it's like 60% rural and 40% urban. So there is a lot of urban, rural-urban migration happening in my country. There are so many reasons. This climate change thing that people have to displace. Agriculture is no more, productive for small farmers, so they have to go to big cities to earn their, livelihood. So it's creating a lot of problems. And if you asked about if there is some, climate or environment or smart urban planning, which I have to say no in our country, especially because Islamabad is the capital of Pakistan, and it is one of the beautiful and most, what we can say, well-planned city. But we are having our issues because we don't have sewage system that's functional anymore because of the rural-urban migration that is going on, and on the urban place, everything. There is a burden of new people coming in. The cities are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and nobody's really stopping it. And I think it's a chaos there. 60, 40, it's a big change, I guess. It's a big change. And climate change definitely has played its role in this migration.
Yes. My city, Carmen, it started, well, we've had several changes in our biggest or most important economical activity through the years. We used to be a place where we had these trees to get the rubber, and then we changed that to fisheries, and after the fisheries it was the petroleum, and when the petroleum came, it really changed the way the city was growing. And in 10 years, it was like an explosion. And we are located in a natural protected area. And we have specific guidelines for construction, how to get permits to build, how many, what proportion of the construction should be to have trees, green spaces, but any of these things are met. It should be 50% for construction and 50% for preserve the trees and the gardens. All that is lost. And also, one of the biggest causes of loss of biodiversity in my state, it's caused because of urbanization. And because, as being a petroleum city, the value of the land is very high. So every time a grandfather or grandmother dies, their children are going to inherit the land, and they're going to split it, and they're going to be willing to build a hotel or something. So now that the petroleum industry is in decay, we have all these big houses that used to be worth, even in dollars, rents were in dollars in my city. It was it's very expensive to live there, but now they're just carcasses of what it used to be. So definitely it's like these white elephants left from this big explosion. We didn't plan it very well, and this is a story that it repeats itself in our Atlantic coast, where we had all these petroleum cities that were being developed, and then the people migrated, and now we are looking for a new sense of identity, like what is next? Which I'm hopeful that the next thing we're going to do is going to preserve our mangroves and our ecosystem, because we need it to face the climate change that it's going to happen.
In my case, in Morocco, as I work with the forest department government, we lost at least 1,000 hectares per year through the urbanization. That's the city has growing. Just this number, just instead of the forest area. I don't have statistics about agricultural lands or other lands. So instead of that, what the government is doing with the Department of Urbanization is like to try, because deforestation also increase the emission of CO2, and it's decrease the sequestration of this gas. So the governments or the try to decrease the green area, and try to keep trees inside the cities, and make a lot of parks and lots of trail with trees.
I don't mean to disagree that humankind is aggravating climate change, but climate change has happened through the centuries, and what percentage it would make a difference. I would like to hear how we can, everybody's aware that there's drought. Are we capturing those 96 inches of rain per hour in a reservoir? Are we damming? Are we using drip irrigation? Are we changing our toilets that use a lot? The amount of water that's used is mostly in industry and in agriculture in this country. I think something like 10% is used by humans. So we are battling a great deal but I don't think we're putting our effort where it will count the most. I know that at one time England was growing grapes because it was warm, and then they had a mini ice age and they went to hops and had beer because they could raise it. You adapt to climate change regardless of how it is, and it's going to happen anyway, and we ought to be looking on what we are doing about it and our waste rather than putting all our eggs in conservation. I mean, that's nice to do, but it's not going to take care of the problems.
Yes, that's an excellent point, and I totally agree with you. I think from what I've seen for all these years is that each of us has a topic that is close to their heart, and that's the topic that each of us is working on and concentrating on. I totally agree with you. There are many things that can be done, and there are many opportunities that will come because of this changing climate. But it's also something that we can see that really big populations, like we've seen in Pakistan, are going to be affected, and that is something that we have to adaptate and, of course, mitigate and change the way we're living. Talking about climate change, how to mitigate, how to adapt, for me it's like, I think about the universe and how big it is, because we're talking about changing the way the world works right now and start doing things that we've never done before. So I think I am a strong believer that each of us has to do something, and especially something that is close to your heart. For me, it's conservation of mangroves. I love the mangroves. I feel that's part of what I inherited from my grandparents, and that's the closest to me, what passions me the most. For Ali, it's different. It's agricultural development. It's the same for Adnan and Tarek. So if each of us carries with the task and the knowledge that we have to do what we can, whenever we can, with whatever we have, I just cannot be anything else that hopeful, even when every time we look at the newspaper or the news, we see something that is discouraging.
So, I would like to say that, yes, climate change is happening and humans have a big role in it, and the reason is different in events, disasters definitely have been happening since the beginning of this, universe. But one thing that I have learned is there were like events happening in once in a century. Now they are happening once in a decade. Now they're happening once in a year. So the interval, the frequency between, it's shortening. That means by the start of this century, of course, and then the industrialization and everything is happening. And you said agriculture, like water, the water that has been used, especially in this country, of course, 80% is used in agriculture, and that agriculture is for humans. So our issue is not agriculture. The issue is how you do agriculture, how you do it, what kind of methods are you using? So of course we all need food, we all need, we need to survive, but we need to educate ourselves, know how different technologies or how climate smart agriculture that we can do so that we have food, which is something we all need, and something, the food that we grow in Pakistan with all the chemicals and the pesticides, we don't need that kind of food. We need a food which is free of it. We need water, underground water, which is free from nitrate and other pesticides. So it's not, yes, humans are doing it. Agriculture is one of the main sources of these climate change and stuff. But there is a way we can tackle it. There is a way we can learn, and still a lot of research is going on in this country. That's why we are here, and to see and to learn and to share. And we also need to see our indigenous knowledge of everything that we do, because they have been done for centuries, and we have to really cherish it and know it and see it how it worked for so many years. And now we have done so many, all the development that we have done in the last 100 years. What happened? There must be something wrong. I don't know. This is how I would respond to it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all very much, audience, and yeah.
Thank you.